WHIP
Philadelphia.
Looking for a great way to spend your night? Check out Flex and Finesse on Thursday, October 15th from 9 p.m. to 1 a.m. Presented by My Own Boss Entertainment and hosted by local celebrities Bubbles and Show Off Dan. Located at the new After Midnight Club on 5300 Market Street. Pre-sale tickets are $10. Tickets at the door are $15. The dance contest will have cash prizes starting at $200. WHIP will be giving away tickets from October 5th to October 9th during Power Hour Music. For tickets and info, call or text 267-974-1856.
Now, on Philadelphia's #1 college radio station, WHIP, Rational Radio.
#1 college radio station, WHIP Radio. I'm Ryan Frischel alongside Noah Clay and Nate Weaver, and we are talking about all the issues going on across Philadelphia and Pennsylvania, around the world. Everything that you need to know is here on Rational Radio. So, starting out today, how is everybody doing?
Doing real good. It's a little cold out. It's a little cold out,
but I'm kind of liking the weather.
Fall has fallen.
Fall has fallen. I like that.
Is that
but I'm wearing.
Thing?
I got my nice flannel on. I feel pretty warm, pretty cozy. It's a nice day outside.
I like that I can start breaking out my sweaters, my vests, and it's a good
That's
day.
right. That's right. I have the vest on right now.
It's a nice vineyard vine.
That's right. No product placement there. Yeah, no, I'm happy that the weather's finally cool, that we're out of all this heat. Because now, you go spend some time outside and, just enjoy nature.
I'm not sweating when I run over to my classes.
Yeah, that is true. And you're not hoping. I feel like they always go overboard on the heat, but never on the air. Like, if it's really hot out, you're, like, hoping that the air is on. But if it's cold, like, the heat's going to be on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, last night there was a mayoral debate that took place here at Temple University. So that is what we're talking about today, leading off the two candidates, Jim Kenney, the Democrat, and Melissa Murray Bailey, the Republican, took to the stage at the Performing Arts Center last night and basically debated what some of the most important issues are in the election. And Philly.com put together a highlights list. So we're just going to run through that real quick, kind of discuss some of the issues that are on the table, how we think that they will affect Philadelphia going forward. And one of the highlights on here is something Jim Kenney proposed, and it's about funding the schools by leasing the city's luxury boxes at the sports stadium. And so they have box suites at the sports stadium. Sometimes this article says referred to as the mayor's box. And so the city apparently could generate $1 million a year if they actually rented them out. So something interesting to consider.
So that would be at the Link and the Citizens Bank, and what the mayor gets basically tickets whenever he wants.
I guess I assume they probably get tickets like certain times during the year or to certain games. And
well, that's one of the things. If they're not using it, it would be a very, very big moneymaker.
It's surprising to me that they aren't already using it, that's not a thing.
Yeah, that is actually pretty
And I mean, I'm sure that they'll still use it, but I think they would, like, if nobody could make the game or whatever, they'd say, how about we just auction these off? Like, you can go sit in the mayor's box. If
and
you
he probably
pay,
has his name up on the thing.
Yeah,
People
probably.
Go and take their picture.
Yeah, and you probably get a lot of perks in the box too. The tickets are probably really expensive, but then all the money goes back to the schools.
Yeah, I know a lot of the boxes are they're catered.
Yeah.
You can have either food already in there when you get there, or that you can order them right from your seat.
Oh, that's real cool.
Yeah, they're real nice. They're great views. They're beautiful seats. Most of them are indoor and outdoor.
Yeah.
So that if it's cold outside or too hot, you can just sit inside and watch from behind a glass wall.
Yeah, no, that would be nice. I've been in a box a couple times, and and the boxes at the Link are very nice, but they are very expensive.
Let's get a WHIP box for the next
There
game.
we go.
Hey,
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah,
WHIP box for the Notre Dame game.
Yeah, let's propose that. That would actually be really nice.
That would be
That'd be
really
fun.
nice, but I'm sure Notre Dame already has them all bought out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and all the people who actually use the boxes or whatever. But
Definitely.
yeah, so that was one of the things that was proposed, and then he also, Jim Kenney went on to say how he would deal with the upcoming Democratic National Convention, saying that it was he acknowledged one of the complainants, Stephen Starr, during the papal visit, who said he had unfilled tables in his restaurant. Stephen Starr, if you don't know, very famous restaurateur here in Philadelphia, has a bunch of restaurants throughout the city serving different types of cuisine, and he was one of the people who was very vocal about not having that much business during the papal visit, to which Jim Kenney in this article is quoted as saying, "The papal visit was not a money-making venture, it was a pilgrimage. You don't have pilgrims eating in five-star restaurants."
That's very true.
That's valid.
Yeah. And
That's,
so
that's the best excuse I've heard for the for the
lack of
visit not
people.
making money and for no one coming. But it's a good excuse. It
and
sounds
that makes
believable.
sense. The Pope was a big religious thing. People that were coming in were big religious people for the most part.
Right.
So they're not coming in for the five-star restaurants. They're not coming in for the city of Philadelphia. They're not coming in to see the sights. They're not coming in to experience the city. They're coming to see the Pope and to hear him speak.
And that's why a lot of people said that people shouldn't get angry if they have to walk a long distance, because they were like, treat this like a pilgrimage. So anyway, that was just one of the highlights. But also there were a couple more down the list. But one thing I wanted to jump to, actually two things. First, Melissa Murray Bailey recommended a surge of 500 police officers to fight crime. And she said over the course of 5 years, it would cost around $80 million and would be paid for with cost-saving measures. An extra 500 police officers here?
I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's just because we're on campus, but I feel like every time I turn the corner, I see another 3 cops.
Yeah.
So, and I'm sure it's different other places, but I personally feel very safe on campus. I feel TUPD does a great job. Philly PD does a great job. I feel no need for extra police.
Yeah, no, I was saying the same thing that to my parents, that every time I look the other way, it's either Temple Police or Philadelphia Police, and then I know, I'm like, okay, there's someone with law enforcement authority that's right here if there was an emergency. So Philadelphia Police, this is on Wikipedia. Philadelphia Police, they're a force of 6,400 officers. So an extra 500 would make them almost 7,000 people.
I mean, obviously more safety is never a bad thing, but it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It is a lot of money,
and
yeah.
Salaries and extra cars and extra bikes and...
Right, but I think what they're doing is they're trying to set a basis for safety and a look of safety in Philadelphia in order to bring more businesses in order to create a better atmosphere for different types of venues.
Yeah.
I feel like almost they are trying to build a sort of New York, or trying to build the city up instead of just keeping it where it is, making it one of those elite cities like LA or like New York or something like that.
Yeah, I see that. I just don't know. It's just a lot of money to put up, especially because for me, we're always talking about the education system and how it's failing here. So
yeah,
I think before we put, and maybe it is because I'm only I don't head off campus in Philadelphia too much. I'm in Center City sometimes, and I'm here most of the time. But I don't see a lack of law enforcement.
And then this goes back to something that when I was talking to Police Commissioner Charles Ramsey, he mentioned the idea of community-oriented policing, that they delegate more officers to areas where there is more crime. I mean, so you're not going to swarm, Center City, Philadelphia with the most amount of officers you have, because generally, for the most part, it is an area that doesn't have a lot of crime.
Same thing with our campus.
Right, but for areas that do have a lot of crime, they've delegated more officers, more patrols through those neighborhoods.
Right.
And so just looking online on this website, salon.com, to put it in perspective, the New York Police Department is the biggest police force in the country with over 34,000 uniformed officers. So 34,000. Wow. And we're talking about, we could be seeing close to 7,000. So, yeah, just to put it in perspective, overall, this article says they have 51,000 employees, more than the FBI.
More than the FBI.
Yeah.
More NYPD. Oh, wow.
Yeah, see, well, there you go. They have so many. What's the population difference between like a Philadelphia area and New York, though? Because if the population difference is so big, they need those people, those extra people to look over and.
Yeah, because that's how much bigger are they? If in police force sizes, we're 7, they're 34. That's,
But Philadelphia is the 4th largest police force in the country.
Right.
So we look at population. New York has almost a little under 8.5 million, 8.4 million people. Okay. Philadelphia, I believe, is about 1.5 million.
1.5 million. So there you go.
That's 1.5 million. So
that what? So we would have almost 7,000. They have roughly 35. So that's 5 times as many.
Right.
That's valid.
Yeah. For a city of 8 million people.
I would say absolutely.
Almost 8.5 million people. Yeah. No, I think it's definitely valid.
And I think that's what they're trying to move into. That's what they're trying to keep that almost a ratio like we do in New York, and not only to bring possibly in more people, but better businesses, to create better jobs, to create more money income, yada yada.
Yeah. And so. Another issue that has been very popular throughout this whole campaign is the issue of charter schools in Philadelphia. And so the candidates this morning actually had like a little bit of a roundtable discussion with some school children in Philadelphia. And so according to this article on the Inquirer, Philly.com, there were students that were asking the candidates about guns, jobs, and drugs. And the first thing that it mentions is the kids who are asking about charter schools. And Jim Kenney's response was that he believes that it was he was quoted as saying, "I believe in my heart there was an effort to make every school a charter school. It was a state effort, a plan to deliberately make the Philadelphia school district fall, then replace it with charters." And so this article actually by Kristen Graham, who's been on the show before, talking about education. And I think it's something that is really interesting to consider here in Philadelphia, right? Because so you look up what is a charter school, right? Basically, a charter school is a school that you can elect to go to in the city of Philadelphia. Anyone can go to it.
Okay.
And normally, based on your address, you're assigned, a elementary school, middle school, and high school that you go to. But now charter school, if you live in North Philly, but you want to go to charter school in South Philly, you can do that. And you just have to make sure that you can get there. And they say charter schools help with academics because you have a more, I guess, not select, but you have a population that is electing to go to that school as opposed to just going to the school where they're district to.
Right. So is it application based, or is it just you say, "Hey, I'm going to go here"? We don't know.
That's a good question. This website, pacharters.org, just says charter schools may not discriminate in admission, and all students are selected by lottery. So I assume you apply, and they probably give you a number or something like that, and they probably draw numbers.
Okay.
To do that, but they do have a charter, a document that outlines their governing structure.
Okay.
Which I guess helps plan them out. But I don't know. I mean, in a school district that struggles as much as Philadelphia, the fact of having charter schools here is kind of interesting.
Yeah. So when in my high school district in Colorado, we it was an open. Oh, I can't remember what exactly they called it, but it was an open
enrollment.
Open enrollment, yeah. And you could there were 6 high schools, and if you wanted to go to a high school that you were not zoned for, you could open enroll. That's right, open enroll into it, and it got capped eventually, and you couldn't after a while. But like a lot of kids open enrolled into other schools because they didn't necessarily like the city it was in, or they didn't necessarily, it had a bad reputation, or they wanted to play football, or like various things would cause you to open enroll into other places. But yeah, so
interesting.
I thought that was a pretty effective system.
Did you have any system like that where you went to high school?
No. But we'll delve into that when we come back from the break. Okay. All right, it's time to take a break. We will keep talking about the issue of charter schools here in Philadelphia and throughout the country. And also, we do have another thing to talk about with education. This time, it is not in Philadelphia, so stay tuned to find out what that is all about. You're listening to Rational Radio here on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station.
Hey everyone, this is RC. Be sure to jump in the pit with me every Sunday from 1 to 2 p.m. on the Simply Sinister Show. Serving the best in everything rock, metal, and mayhem. Only on WHIP, Philadelphia's #1 college radio station.
My name is Ruth Rusi. I'm a retired teacher. I'm 91 years old, and this is how I live United. I say retired, but not really. Once a week, I read books to children as part of United Way's education program. Reading to a child creates links between language and literacy. It creates a bond between grown-up and child. And believe it or not, it prepares them for a better academic future. Oh, we read about frogs and flies and pigs with wings, all sorts of juicy stuff. It's a joy to watch all those little faces. I figure I have the time and they have the need. And I've always believed that if we're not here to help each other, then what are we here for really? My name is Ruth Rusi. I help kids prepare to succeed in school. So I don't just wear the shirt, I live it.
Give, advocate, volunteer, Live United. Go to liveunited.org. Brought to you by United Way and the Ad Council.
Nurse, I need you to apply pressure to the head wound until I can get to it. I'm concerned she's lost too much blood.
Oh, no.
You in the corner, who are you? You're not supposed to be here.
She's my girlfriend, Doctor.
You need to wait out in the waiting room.
Please, Doctor, I want to stay with her.
Look, she's been badly injured. So if you want to do what's best for her, you need to let us do our work.
Please, Doctor, she has to be okay. I didn't mean to do this. I love her.
Wait a second. You were the driver?
Yes, but I didn't mean to. I swear, we went to dinner. I was just buzzed. I only had a few drinks.
Just buzzed? Why didn't you tell us that? In that case, your girlfriend is fine.
Hey, sweetie. I feel great. You want to get out of here?
I can't believe this. Really, Doctor? She's really okay?
What, are you kidding? No, not really. Nurse, get me a suture kit. Stat.
Buzzed driving. Maybe we should stop acting like it's no big deal. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Transportation, the Ad Council, and this station.
You must be your fairy godmother?
In the classic fairy tale, Cinderella's dream comes true because the glass slipper fits.
It fits!
In our world, the right fit can be just as important.
Good heavens, child. You can't go in that.
Especially when it comes to car seats. Always choose a car seat that's the right fit for your child's age and size.
Oh, that does make a difference.
To make sure your little pumpkin gets there safely every time.
Hop in, dear.
Thank you.
Remember, you're responsible for protecting your children. Their happily ever afters are in your hands. For even more information about choosing the right car seat, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. This message has been brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're here with myself, Nate Weaver, Noah Clay, and Ryan Frischella. We're talking a little bit of charter schools.
We are talking about charter schools, yes, indeed. Something that has been a hot topic of sorts in the mayoral debate and the mayoral campaign here in the city of Philadelphia. And it's been that way for a little bit of time. And so basically we're talking about what a charter school is and what the benefits, what the pros, what the cons are, why they might be able to succeed here in a city like Philadelphia. Now, where we left off, you were asking me if I had charter schools where I came from, and the answer to that question is no. Where I came from, it was just school districts, and you were district to a certain elementary school, middle school, and high school, all within that same school district.
Kind of went in a line, basically. It was like you went to this elementary school, then you went to this middle
right,
school.
And then some of those couple elementary schools converged into, we had two middle schools,
okay.
And then both middle schools converged into one high school.
Okay.
So, no, we did not have charter schools, but, I mean, you do have the option to go to either a private school or a private Catholic school,
okay.
Which some people after 8th grade decided to do for high school.
Right.
But that was the closest that we had to, like, kind of like you know, deferring the public school to something else.
Right. I know back home I had at least two other options for school that were apparently in the Harrisburg area.
Okay.
So it wasn't just our school district. Actually, it was three. So we had our vocational school, which was Dauphin County VOTEC, and that was all schools in Dauphin County were able to go there, and that was through, you know, public. CASA, which was an arts school, so it was like performing arts, musical arts, theater, and then we had a Harrisburg Institute for Science and Technology, I think it was, and that was basically a scientific school. But you were still part of your school district, no matter where you went. You were still part of your school district.
Right. We had 6 high schools. 2 were in the Boulder, in like the city of Boulder.
Okay.
And then there were 4 more. And then some of them had specialties, and some of them didn't. So like my school, I just went there because I was zoned for it, but it was the engineering school. So they had a pretty good engineering, like pre-engineering program. And then one of the other schools had a better music program than the rest of them, and one of the other schools had a better health program than the rest of them. So I don't know what the other ones were, but I just know that it was really helpful because a lot of kids went to my school and then went to University of Colorado for engineering. So they helped them figure out, and if you didn't want to do engineering, that's an easy way to figure out before you were actually paying money for classes and stuff. So
that's actually kind of cool. I kind of
it was really cool.
Ability to choose where this specialty of your
Exactly. It was really beneficial for kids.
And you still decided to come here and do journalism.
I did. I did not. I mean, I was kind of engineering, but no, not for me. I don't think I'm smart enough to do that.
No, I'm sure
I don't think I can figure
smart.
that out. I don't think I can figure that out. All the coding and not for me.
I understand.
Yeah. But no. So it's it's interesting to see. So now we look at this in Philadelphia, right, where you have a very a school district, public school district that is struggling mightily, and you look at charter schools and the appeal for charter schools. I mean, I see where the appeal is.
Right.
I really do. I mean, how many times have we been talking on this show about the inability for the school district to find subs to staff the classrooms? So they're pulling teachers from their prep periods to cover classes, and some classrooms are going without teachers, and it's just a whole mess because nobody. When they outsourced the subs, nobody signed up for the outsourcing contract because they didn't want to teach. I assume they didn't want to teach in Philadelphia, because if they did, then they would have signed up for them, or they had other opportunities elsewhere. So now you have a school district where they can't even really function properly. And then you introduce charter schools and where they operate under some sort of autonomy, and they just, I don't know, they offer different opportunities, I think, for students in Philadelphia. And on this website, PA Charters, one of the first things it says is that charter schools have the flexibility, authority, and responsibility to innovate in exchange for greater accountability for results student learning. So, I mean, you look at that and you say, okay, greater accountability. That's good, right? Because right now, my kid can't even get textbooks or a teacher in the classroom. So I'm going to have them go to the charter schools. But then what happens when they go to the charter schools? We have no one left in the public schools. And, those are the schools that are staying there. I mean, charters, you can, if you don't renew the charter, then it's done.
Right.
But, public schools, I mean, they're always there. And I don't know. It's just, can you blame someone for wanting to go elsewhere?
No, of course not. Of course you can't blame these parents of these kids who the kids are going to school. What did we say? 100 classrooms, 500 classrooms per day were not being staffed
across the district.
The district. That's crazy. That's unreal to me. So of course the teachers don't want to be there when the kid can't get a teacher because the teacher has no idea what to do because they just got pulled out of their planning period.
Yeah, I mean, it's just something that is just really, hard to blame someone for wanting to do that. I mean, all they're looking for is a better education.
Exactly.
And, you're like, no charter schools, just Philadelphia School District.
Right.
Well, we can't properly fund the Philadelphia School District. So you have someone who comes along and says, I want to create a charter school. Here, I have a lot of money. I'm going to put it into the school because I really want kids to do well here. They say, oh, no, you can't do that. Well, why not?
Right.
I mean, to me, that is a way that we can genuinely help these kids here.
I see the side of the city because they don't want these public schools that they have been working so hard to fix.
Right.
Not doing a great job of, but still trying hard to fix. Of course, they don't want that to fold, but at the same time, money for students and education is money for students and education, and
yeah. I see where they're coming from.
And you're turning down dollars.
And if you want to keep, where people are District 2, if you want to keep them in the same, with the kids from their neighborhood, you want to try and keep groups together, then you'd be for the current system that the district has set up.
Right.
And when you try so hard to get the schools, back up and running, you want people to actually use them. You don't want it to be, that just okay, we're fixing these up for, the now 50 kids who go to school here.
Right.
So, I do see the other side of it, but...
Yeah, well, this really interests me. I was looking at pacharters.org, and what they said, one of the differences is that charter schools generally offer teachers and students more authority to make decisions than most traditional public schools. Instead of being accountable for compliance with regulations, they are accountable for academic results and for upholding their charter. So the teachers aren't looked at to teach a certain curriculum. They're looked at as the academic results overall.
Yeah.
And they're given the authority to see what they think is should be taught.
Yeah. Greater flexibility for them. They look at the results of stuff and they say, okay, let's focus on this.
Yeah.
If you're listening to the show right now and you want to call in, give us your thoughts on charter schools here in the city of Philadelphia or just the topic of charter schools in general, the number is 215-204-9447. We would love to hear from you and hear what you have to say about this issue that has been in the news for a while here in Philadelphia and certainly part of the mayoral campaign. So we're going to transition a little bit, staying with the topic of education, but now moving to a broader scale. This article coming from CNN. And basically, this teacher has sued the Los Angeles School District, which is the nation's second largest school district, for $1 billion in a class action lawsuit alleging it conducts quote-unquote witch hunts against older teachers in a quote-unquote shrewd effort to save money on retirement benefits. And so this teacher, according to the article, filed a lawsuit on behalf of about 2,000 teachers in the Los Angeles Unified School District.
Wow.
And according to the person who wrote this article, Ann O'Neill, the teacher is described as one of the best known and most popular teachers in the Los Angeles school district. So this is, I think, a very interesting issue because we see also coming up is the debate about retirement benefits and pensions and the amount that they will cost school districts in the future, because many states don't have the money to fund the pensions. So the school districts look at these older teachers and they either, they could say set an age where they have to retire, or, there needs to be some sort of change in the pension system so that it becomes more sustainable. And I think this is actually a very real problem across the country, especially if we look here in Pennsylvania. The pension system is just out of control. There's just no money there to fund these pensions. And at a certain point as a teacher, after you've been teaching, I think it's for over 30 years, it might be around 33 years, when you retire, your pension benefits start to, it's like half of the highest pay that you had, like, for the rest of your life.
Wow.
It is like crazy. I think that it's like a $2 billion pension hole that we have here in Pennsylvania. And that's one of the things that we've been talking about the Pennsylvania budget a lot. That's one of the things that that Republicans are trying to push through is some sort of pension reform. But I mean, they're trying to push through pension reform, but the people voting on it are the people who are going to be affected by. I mean, the representative, they get a pension, so why would they ever vote to do pension reform? And they're like, no, I want to keep as much money as possible.
Yeah.
So I mean, this is something that I think is really interesting to look at, just because the whole issue of teacher tenure and saying that here in Pennsylvania, after 3 years, after teaching in the same school district for 3 years, you have tenure, and it becomes infinitely harder to fire that teacher. So even if they're ineffective, the resources that are required to fire them are costs so much money. And then I think that brings up the issue of there are teachers out there that are ineffective, and teachers that after a certain point need to be let go. But you can't do that because of teacher tenure.
That's true.
So then they end up teaching for 40 years, and then they get a huge pension when they retire, and then we don't have any money to pay for it. It's crazy. This is, I don't know, this has been going on. This is not new. This is not a problem that has just popped up, and it's not even a problem that's just in Los Angeles. This is a problem that spans across the whole country, and that some people just kick the can. They just kick the can down the road, just thinking someone else will deal with it.
Right. Hopefully it'll get picked up and figured out.
When the problem just gets bigger, as it's just left to kind of just sit there. And so I'm looking at an article right now on PennLive.com, and it's talking about the issue of pensions, and it's saying a new analysis of a pension reform bill shaved savings from $18.3 billion to $11.1 billion, and they want to basically shift the pensions into a 401k type setup that a lot of people who work in business use, as opposed to a state funded system. And basically there's a heading on this article that titled "What's the Problem?" and it cites the PA lawmakers, and specifically in 2001 they granted off-the-chart pension benefit increases to themselves and public school employees and state workers. So we look at a problem now that legislators are complaining about when, according to this author of this article, they're the ones who really created the problem when they voted to increase pension benefits. And so, there are solutions to this thing. The article goes on to talk about bond purchases that would help absorb some of the pension funds, but then that would require $3 billion in bonds. And so then that, with interest rates low, I mean, you're not getting a huge return on that, but that just is like a temporary fix. So something really just needs to be done with this whole system, because like I was saying earlier in this article, it says a 35-year state worker who qualifies for the maximum annuity at age 62 would see their pension drop from 67% of their salary. So right now they're getting 67% of their salary when they retire. They continue to get after they retire. Yeah.
That's a lot of money.
Right. So then it would drop it to 39.5%. And so I don't know. I mean, it's something that nobody wants to see, right? Because who wants to see their own benefits cut after they go through it, after they are retired? But, I mean, ultimately, it's going to be something that has to be dealt with.
Right.
So we will take another quick break. We will be back talking about more issues of the day right afterwards. So make sure to stay tuned here on Rational Radio on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station.
Temple sports fans, this is Tom Hanslin, and this is a WHIP Sports Fact. Did you know that prior to playing at Lincoln Financial Field and Veterans Stadium, Temple football was played at Bury Stadium, which opened its doors in 1928. The Owls would call this place home for 50 seasons, and in 1934, it was the Philadelphia Eagles that played a historic game there by defeating the Cincinnati Reds 64-0. The first time in which a team scored 10 touchdowns in a single game in NFL history. Stay tuned to hear more WHIP Sports Facts.
What is that?
Oh, it's my time machine.
Does it work?
Sure, just hit this button.
Whoa, dinosaurs, cool.
Or we can go here.
Hey, that's Napoleon.
Oui.
Or we can go to the future.
Wow, hey, you have this nice house. Do I have a nice house?
No, you didn't save any money, always spent it on vacations and stuff.
If only there was a way I could go back in time and correct that bad habit.
Yep.
Okay, the time machine is not real, but the saving thing is. Get in the habit of putting some of your money in savings each week through a 401k, savings account, or financial investments. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free ideas and easy tips on saving, go to feedthepig.org. That's feedthepig.org.
What does this crazy little button do?
Wait, no!
This message brought to you by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants and the Ad Council.
I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school.
Summer isn't fun when you're hungry.
If only I had a big test today. Or a book report to give. Give me a math quiz. Give me some homework.
If your child relies on free school lunches, we can help provide them with free meals this summer.
I'll stay after class. I'll clean the chalkboard. I'll keep my desk real clean.
So they can stop worrying about food and start focusing on fun.
I'll do extra homework. I'll clean the class pet's cage. I'll skip recess. I wish I was in school. I wish I was in school.
School might end, but free lunches don't have to. Find your local Feeding America food bank for help. Together, we're feeding America.
To find your local Feeding America food bank, visit feedingamerica.org/summer meals. A message from Feeding America and the Ad Council.
People are always talking about the stock market. Always looking to invest in a good opportunity. Something with the potential to grow. So what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock where you invest to make money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps students like me go to college, which ends up making the future better for everybody. I could be the first college graduate in my family, the first district attorney from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there will be a second and a third. This can really be the start of something. My name is Charles, and I'm your dividend.
Invest in better futures with UNCF. Visit uncf.org/invest. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, but a wonderful thing to invest in. A public service announcement brought to you by UNCF and the Ad Council.
Hey, it's Colleen from Saturday Night Online and Q102, and you're listening to WHIP.
Welcome back to Philly's #1 college radio station, iHeart listeners. You're listening to Rational Radio with Nate Weaver, Ryan Fischella, and myself, Noah Clay. Talking about all the latest news. We're talking about the Philadelphia school system right now. Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah, if you ever want to call at any point in the show, discuss something that we are talking about or have previously talked about, please feel free. The number is 215-204-9447. We had a lot of things that we were talking about earlier in the show, such as pension reform and teachers' pensions, and kind of the unfunded liability that the state has right now. Also talking about charter schools here in the city of Philadelphia. So lots of big issues out there on the table today, and I'm sure lots of opinions out there. So if you want to share that opinion, 215-204-9447 is the number to call. We would love to hear from you. So moving on now to something else, some more national news. This article on the Washington Post's website titled, "Did George W. Bush keep us safe?" Donald Trump raised that question to Jeb Bush. One of the things that the article talks about is a tweet sent out by Donald Trump saying, "Jeb, why did your brother attack and destabilize the Middle East by attacking Iraq when there were no weapons of mass destruction? Bad info?" And so this is kind of coming in the middle of kind of a little spat going on between Donald Trump and Jeb Bush. Something that is some people thought Jeb Bush would be the favorite to be the nominee, but now with this surge by Donald Trump, that looks less and less likely unless he's able to make a large back-end push. But we still have a lot of time to go, so yeah, that is definitely something to see. But what do we think? Did George Bush keep us safe while he was president?
Well, I think the way that Donald Trump was looking at it isn't that he didn't keep us safe. It's that, and this is from CNN.com, he said that with his immigration policies, they wouldn't have been here in the first place.
Right, I saw that, which I think is also very interesting to talk about.
Even with stronger immigration process, there's always holes, no matter what. Like, there's always going to be some sort of holes. They would be trained to get through.
Yeah.
Like, one way or another, if they were really serious about something. So that's just kind of the way that I'm seeing this as of right now.
Yeah, no, I don't know how you can say that with, say that, if I was president, the terrorists would not be in this country. I mean, I don't think you say for certain that that's the case.
Yeah, exactly. You have no idea. You have no clue.
His immigration policy is strict, but I mean, there's still, people. I mean, there are lots of policies that are strict that people get around. Mm-hmm. But I mean, I don't know. I think it's a little bit of an absurd statement.
Yeah, it's very, I want to say closed-minded, but that's not the right word. It's very abrupt and it seems like it just wasn't very thought out. Like, I feel like if you think pretty hard, you would realize that that's not necessarily a great idea to say something that, like, if I was president, this definitely wouldn't have happened, because you have no clue. How could you possibly know?
Yeah, no, I agree, and it's just something that has been in the news so often, just Donald Trump and all of his remarks, and now this one saying that if he was president with his strict immigration policy, that they would never have been here. I don't think that's incredibly safe to say, but I think this is something to look at. I mean, if we take out the perspective of Donald Trump, look at it for what it is. I mean, as a question, did George Bush keep us safe? I think the answer is yes. I mean, I think we were safe.
Yeah, after 9/11, there were no more attacks on American territory. So,
and it's not and it's not. I don't think it was as a result of Al Qaeda and the Taliban just being like we're done attacking America. Like we're gonna move on.
Right.
I mean, we saw security beefed up. I mean, the Patriot Act passed right after 9/11.
Right.
Really beefed up, intelligence, and Department of Homeland Security was created right after 9/11, and now we see all the stuff that they are doing. And I mean, hindsight is 20/20, right? I mean, I don't think if George Bush had seen what the Iraq war and the war in Afghanistan turned into, I don't know. I don't think he would have the same feelings that he did then. I mean, it's easy, after, the tragedy that was 9/11, after that happened, I mean, it's easy to see how things like the Patriot Act were passed, right, with intense government surveillance, something that we look at today and we don't know if that would be passed the way that it was back then. I mean, emotions were high, and people just wanted to feel safe.
People were afraid. That's a terrifying thing to happen.
Yeah, and so I mean, looking back on it, I mean, it helped. I think it's safe to say that those policies helped stop attacks. I mean, we saw plots for attacks that were that were in the works that were able to be stopped, and that fortunately never panned out to anything. I mean, there was that guy on the flight on the plane who had the bomb in the underwear on Christmas Day, I believe. And
I think that's right.
And I don't know if they were able to detect that, but he tried to detonate it and it didn't go off or something like that. So then there we see the how much more work we need to do. But I also think that we see the good in this, and all the people who reportedly have claims have ties to ISIS that we've been able to quote unquote stop before. I mean, we don't know if they're going to do anything. We know that they're looking into what ISIS is doing, and just that we were able to stop them before anything happened. I mean, I don't know if that would have been the case, however many 14 years ago, before 9/11 happened. So I think it's definitely fair to say that he kept us safe. I mean, he takes a lot of flack for his decisions to go into Iraq and Afghanistan, based on what he had at the time. I mean, based on what he had at the time, what has now been deemed faulty intelligence. I mean, it's easy to say that he made the wrong decision when you're not the one making the decision.
And you have all the facts laid out for you, and you know exactly how it turns out. So.
Right. Yeah. And so someone, you're sitting in the Oval Office, and someone comes up to you and says, we have this intelligence. Yes, Saddam Hussein is pursuing weapons of mass destruction. I think, yes, we need to go and attack. And, this comes from someone, whoever briefed him, someone at the maybe FBI or CIA or someone of that in the intelligence community, and you hear it from them, and I mean, that's their job, is to gather intelligence. And I mean, you pick the people who lead those departments, you have some sort of trust in them, and so you'd like to think that they, their facts are good, and so it's, why not? You say, okay, are we sure about this? Yes, we have surveillance or whatever the case is. And then it makes it easier for you to decide. And then you learn later that the intelligence was, incorrect. But I mean, at a time when you were just looking to right a wrong that had been done to us, I don't think, if it was a Democratic president, I don't think that it would have been any different.
I agree.
I just think it's one of those things where you're looking at the situation that happened, and you want to kind of avenge the death of the people who died, and you don't want them to die in vain. And so everybody gives George Bush a hard time for that. But, I mean, what would someone else have done? Just said, okay, I'm going to sit here?
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
And because then you have the American people that would have been angry about why aren't we doing anything. So it's either the pressure you have from people within the government, or you have the pressure from the people that eventually, one of the two is going to force you to make a decision. And you're going to have to make a decision based on if you make a decision based on all the information you have, and you hope you have the best information that is out there. I mean, you have to be confident that decision is correct. But I don't think when he made that choice to go into Iraq and Afghanistan that he foresaw a conflict lasting 13 years, 11 years into the future. No, and still going on today.
Right. I don't think anyone thought that was a high possibility or necessarily would have reacted if they knew it was. I think there's a lot of people that would have known that this was going to take this long to figure out and would have still charged on, I think.
Yeah.
Because everyone was so afraid.
Yeah. I mean it's something that I don't know. It's just something that when you look back on it, I mean, if I was in that position, if I was sitting in the chair and I had to make that decision, I see it being a hard decision to make not to go with the information that was out there. I mean, we look at decisions that are made today. I mean, you have decisions that are made today. You look on a smaller scale based on information that is made available, and those decisions have the possibility not to turn out the way that they were intended. I mean, it's not just on the large scale of the presidency where poor decisions are made. I mean, it's every day that we're making decisions based on, some sort of intelligence that, may or may not work out in the end. I mean, Donald Trump brags about how he was the one who said, from the beginning, he was the one who said that he would not advise going into the Middle East. Well, I mean, that's nice and easy to say for him back then.
Right.
I mean, he was one person. Now he's bragging about it now that he was the one to say that. And I think that I don't know how good that does for him. Just because I don't think that, I don't know how relevant it is. I mean, you say that to people, and there are people that are angry about the war, but yep, I'm going to vote for him just because, 14 years ago he said we shouldn't go in. I mean, because the fact of the matter is we went in anyway, so what do you, so there's nothing you can do about it now, right. 14 years later. I mean, there's no going back. And, I read after George Bush left office and he wrote a book that reflected his time as president. I read that book, and to this day, it was one of the most interesting books that I've ever read. And it just talked about how difficult it was for him to make that decision. I mean, because ultimately the decision laid in his hands to declare war on another country and send U.S. troops in there to just start fighting. Didn't know what they were going to find. Didn't know really what it was, but he had intelligence, and he was going based off of that intelligence. And the book talks about how it's called Decision Points, and it talks about all the decisions that he had to make through the course of his presidency, and that spending a lot of time on the fact, should he declare war? I think even in part of the book it talked about he called his dad, former president, and said, what do you think about this? And I think his dad said something to the effect of, if you're asking me what you should do, then, that might be part of the answer. I mean, you need to make this decision for yourself. He said it was a tough decision for me when I decided to go into Kuwait, because his dad was also involved in Middle Eastern conflict when he was president. And he said ultimately he's like, the decision is yours. And you're the only one who can make that decision, but it's a powerful decision that, you need to make. But if you think it's the right thing to do, then go for it. And then ultimately that's what he did. And so I think it's just interesting to look at articles like this that are now out there being published about, did George W. Bush keep us safe? Well, I think, yeah, he did. We were not attacked again. We stopped attacks against our country. And, we've been the intelligence community grew and their capabilities grew, and now we're out there still to this day stopping possible attacks against the country with all the intelligence information that they have. I mean, we're still using that to our advantage. So, and this was all as a result of steps that George Bush took after 9/11. Things that are still in place today and that I foresee being in place, into the future. So I think it is. Answering the question, did George Bush keep us safe? Yes.
I agree.
I think he did. So we will leave it at that, because that is all the time we have for today. But make sure to tune into Rational Radio tomorrow from 3 to 4 right here on WHIP Radio, Philly's #1 college radio station. The Core is up next here. Have a great day, everybody.